The house I grew up in no longer exists. I want to talk about Unpacking first though, the puzzle game with a narrative you explore through unpacking the objects of the protagonist. It was developed by Witchbeam and released in 2021, and it had a massive boom in popularity and is part of the wholesome games trend, and I already said the premise. You unpack the boxes of the protagonist in the spaces she lives in across her life, putting them away in appropriate locations, and through that, you explore said life. I've technically already spoiled it by saying the pronouns of our protagonist, but I'm going to spoil the story even more because I'm the dorky griffin that cares about stories too much for my own good. Plus, my opening statement probably shocked you and made you scratch your head in confusion about how I meant it. I'll I'll get to that. Don't worry. I just want to use unpacking for it. Unpack my feelings, if you will. So, yeah. Spoiler warning for a game without much to spoil. It's still part of Xbox Game Pass on PC as I write this video and as I record it. You can spare the time to play it. It takes as long as you want it to take, and most of it is simple logic. Plus, it highlights stuff that's not in the best place once you unpack every box, so that you can go and fix that. In Unpacking, we follow the life of a young woman from 1997 to 2018, starting at 11 or so years old. Each stage is her living space. With each stage, we find out more about her. She's athletic at 11 in 1997, likes to play football. I'm European, for the record. It's football here, not association football shortened to soccer. She's got a Game Boy and a Tamagotchi, she likes to read and draw and has a bunch of plush toys. She's Jewish! I'm not, but I've watched enough Jacob Geller and Lady Night the Brave videos and movies featuring Jewish characters that I recognize things, like the dreidel she owns. But this is just her first room, her first private space. I never had that growing up. I'm the middle child of 3, you see. Born 5 years after my older brother and 5 years before my younger one. But because of how our birthdays line up during the year, the proper year difference only exists between November 30th and January 8th. When I was born and got old enough, I had to share a room with my older brother. When my younger brother got old enough, the house got renovated to shift some rooms around, so we all shared a room, but it used to be 2 rooms with a hint of separation between them with a bar and now a curtain. The house that no longer exists. My older brother then got a tiny attic room made for him to stay in and have privacy, while me and my younger brother split that big room based on the curtain on the bar. The game skips forward to 2004. The 18-year-old girl is starting university. She has a small apartment with a bedroom and a bathroom and a kitchen. She's got her own computer. She's going to art school, if the anatomy books and her big box that seems to be her portfolio are anything to go by. And she's definitely a cis woman, as we pack away both pads and tampons and put the trash basket next to the toilet. You don't flush menstrual products down the toilet, you wrap them up and throw them in a bin. I used some of my mom's pads to help with tucking when I was 13, that's how I know. But it's 2004, our girl is starting art school, there's a legally distinct Evie Umbrion Gajinka she has framed as a picture for us to hang. I mentioned in the Himegoto episode of Transfer Metro and in the Homestuck Helped Me Pass a Class unedited footage that I'm a 2-time uni dropout. Both of the times I went, I stayed with my parents, because commuting was cheaper in the long run than moving into a dorm. Not to mention, the first time I went, I was still closeted. Actually, my psych and the shitty sexologist suggested I use uni as a stopgap to give myself time to socially transition before they give me hormones so I don't have to enter the workforce as an out trans woman. I didn't do that, meaning if I did go to a dorm, I'd have to be extremely lucky and get a single room or room with guys and share a shower with them. Mom understood why I wouldn't want to do that. The game moves forward to 2007. Our girl is moving again to a larger place so she can have room for her cosplay projects. She's definitely earned a bachelor's degree from the art school and is using that to her benefit. She has so many things to put up. You truly feel she's a well-rounded person. She expanded her athletic pursuits to yoga and climbing. She's doing digital art now as well with a tablet. We then skip to 2010. She's got a boyfriend now. She's moving in with him. He did not make any space for her in his apartment. In fact, the stage is all about trying to squeeze her things anywhere they can go, and this tells you a lot about her boyfriend as a person. The 2012 stage is her putting her stuff back in her childhood bedroom. One clever thing the stage demands from us is to hide the picture of her with her ex so she cannot see it. You can see how long it took me to figure out where to put it in the clip. It couldn't have lasted. I've moved back in with my parents twice now, both times due to unemployment and inability to have my own space. Actually, the second time was because of the irresponsibility of my uncle, who inherited the house my maternal grandmother lived in and the house my mother grew up in. I got moved into my mom's old room there while grandma was alive so that I could be on hand and help her. She passed away in March of 2022. God, it's been a year since she died. Uncle started being a right and proper landlord in behavior come June that year. He didn't demand rent, he just had the gas cut. The stove was gas powered, so was the heating. I paid for gas and electricity I used. He cut the power because I didn't do chores to his liking, even though he never stayed there. I pissed on his bed for that. Not my proudest moment. He had the electrical meter completely removed by the company on January 5th of 2023, and I downright fled to not freeze to death. The way he's dealing with the house, it won't exist soon either. Like mother, like daughter, I guess. The protagonist of Unpacking does not spend long living with her parents. Can't relate. It's 2013. She has a new cozy apartment. Also a cane. Turns out she's got some sort of chronic condition? Or what have you? But after her breakup, she's healing. Getting better. The place screams her again. There's a menorah in the boxes now. I put it on the kitchen table. She starts working on children's books as an author and illustrator. She never lost her passion for art. She's great at it as always. She's got consoles I could only dream of having myself. She dedicates an entire room in the apartment to her craft, an artist space. Someone moves in with her in 2015. A woman who works on the set of a TV show. They don't have to fight for space. They fit right together in that apartment. The new roommate is Asian. I could tell from the giant bottle of soy sauce and the steamer basket she brings in along with the Zojirushi rice cooker. She also brings a lot of plants into the household and her own plushies. You get an achievement if you put our protagonist's pig plushie beside the tiger plushie this new woman in her life brings with her. They're girlfriends, if it isn't clear yet. They're more than that by 2018. They bought a large house together, a really large house. It's the final level, probably from all the earnings for the children's book our protagonist has written, with a dedicated baby room. They're adopting one together. The final picture you get in the game is of the two women sitting out in their backyard, one holding their baby in her arms, the other playing guitar as the sun sets. And I think to myself, The house I grew up in no longer exists. The house I grew up in no longer exists, and I do not mean this in a metaphorical sense that I lost all connection to it, or in the sense that I was disowned by my parents for being queer and thus am not welcome there anymore, something that's exceedingly common and something I dodged. I mean it in a painfully literal sense. The new owner wanted to renovate it in a specific way, but the town council would not approve his building plans, so he tore the entire building down. All that's left is the soil where my house once stood, and the set of photos Google Street View took when it drove through town, plus the plain photos from 2017 that's on the info boards in town. But it still exists so clearly in my mind. A two-story house with a basement and an attic, a front garden and a backyard. When it was built, the ground floor consisted of a garage, the master bedroom, the entry room, and a room leading to the backyard where the washing machine was kept. Above that was a kitchen connected with a living room. You had to walk through the kitchen to reach the living room, which also had a balcony there. Opposite that on the floor was the children's room, which was right next to the bathroom, then stairs leading into the attic. The setup didn't stay that way. The garage door was removed and bricked over to turn the garage into a living room. We we joked that we had the nicest garage in town. The master bedroom became the new kitchen on the ground floor. The children's room, my and my brother's room, got turned into the new master bedroom. The old kitchen and the old living room became the children's room. Me and my younger brother in the bigger part, my older brother in the smaller part that held the door, meaning you had to pass through his room every time you wanted to reach my room, which wasn't my room, it was my and my younger brother's. The attic got an upgrade after that. The tiny square door you had to squat through turned into a proper upright door. Then one of the sides, right next to the stairs, got turned into a very small bedroom. My older brother got that one. I got moved into the former kitchen turned children's room. A curtain was put between me and my younger brother. He had much more space than me. My desk was placed so that my back would be towards the door, a door that had frosted glass on it, removing any privacy I might have had and giving me a strong sense of paranoia. I still prefer being able to see the door while on a computer, unless I can't. Then my parents divorced. My mom had my adult brother buy the house we moved into under his name, so it wouldn't fall under shared wealth in the divorce proceedings. We moved in 2 weeks before I turned 15. I, again, had to share a room with my younger brother. A smaller room. It was hell. But Dad got every other weekend, and I claimed the attic room for myself. Privacy at last to stay up until 3 in the morning on Fridays and Saturdays, chatting on Omegle, and dressing in girls' clothes I dug up from the boxes Mom left behind, which amounted to a skirt and a dress, skirt and the shirt, the skirt, salvaged from a dress whose top half I removed. In 2017, because I flunked out of uni, I moved out. I stayed in Brno until February of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. I spent the year in France, living with my now exes in a 2-room apartment that was too small for 3 people. Then, January 5th of 2021, I moved in with my parents again. My younger brother hadn't yet graduated, so there was some friction here and I slept on the couch, but he was out by the summer. Then I got moved to grandma's place last year, somewhere in February, where I stayed until January 5th of 2023, and now I'm back with my parents, have been since then, no clue for how long, and throughout all that, none of the places I stayed at truly felt like home, like my own. I didn't lose a metaphorical connection with the house I grew up in. I never got to build one. But there are people who have such strong connections to the places they've lost, connections I've never had. I already established I'm not good at research, and I just write these scripts as whatever comes to my mind at the time. So I cannot hand you interviews or essays or short stories of refugees who lost their homes as well. Which is funny, because I could basically walk down the street and talk to a Ukrainian refugee in town from the war. And, that's on me, because I should be able to point to something to really highlight how it fucks you up to be unmoored, to not have a place to return to that was your place of birth, that was the place you grew as a person in and became yourself. The reason I never built such a strong connection is that even when staying there, it couldn't feel like home because of my younger brother destroying any sense of safety I might have had. My father being passive aggressive. And now my stepfather assaulting me after I got out nippoed at a custodian job in town, trying to kick me out on the street during the assault. Legally speaking, I'm already homeless. My permanent residence is the city hall of my hometown. It used to be Mom's place. This place that I sit in while recording in VR after we moved here. But she had me signed off because of stupid impulsive decisions I had made and won't repeat. Before the pandemic, that was 3 years back. At the end of Unpacking, our protagonist has a loving forever home with her wife and their daughter. I don't have one to return to, and seemingly no way to make one, because the house I grew up in no longer exists. The few things I own are stored in boxes. And if I move, I'm not sure if I should even bother packing them. If I move because I can't live on my own, and I keep not being hired, meaning I can't make rent. Thanks for hearing me out. You're all amazing. Thanks for watching this essay and self-therapy session as written. When I first showed the script to my girlfriends, they all reacted with tears. They also did so when I showed them the clips of the ground my house stood on, and as well as all the things that I have packed up. That is pretty much all I have packed up. All I have is clothes, and then all of my technology. That's like one more box, not even that big a box. And I still have trouble moving. I still have trouble finding a job. I have continued applying to jobs. In fact, a job I applied for, a store clerk for Yerce, which had rejected me in February, is open again. And all I can think is, you keep losing people, losing workers. Meanwhile, if you gave me the job, I'd cling on like a fucking tick, like a leech. I would not give up on this position. It is a dream job. Speaking of that, though, this would be a bigger dream job if I could make videos all the time, just share my brainworms with the world, tell people about fun things or personal things, check things, from time to time, bear my heart out and see how people react to it. And there are already people helping me achieve the goal, all my lovely patrons, that this is the part of the video where I thank them. So of course, $20 Aurora, $10 Ginger and Kylie the Healer Witch, $5 patrons. You're all amazing. I love and appreciate all of you. I hope you keep sharing my videos, you keep watching them, you convince your friends to support me, because the support you've given me so far has kept me going, has convinced me that people do still care for what I say, what I talk about. If you want to join all these patrons, the link is in the description below, as is my Ko-fi link for one-time donations and my itch.io link where you can purchase the books I've written. I've been Katie. This has been a video essay and self-therapy session. I will see you next time, either in an unedited footage about Easter or to talk about my favorite soda. Good night.